All right, welcome back to episode 57 of the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast, coming to you from Minneapolis, Minnesota. It is the day after Valentine's Day, February 15th, in the year of our Lord, 2023. My name is Josh. I'm here with Troy. Troy, you had a big high school hockey game last night.
We did. Section semifinals. We played Prior Lake, and we ended up winning 6-0. So now it's on to the section championship game on Friday against Holy Family.
Yeah, what was the shot differential in your game last night?
I think that ended up being 62-14 or something like that.
Pretty easy night's work for your goalie then, I assume?
Probably got a couple good chances on her, but she stopped them. But yeah, didn't have a lot of shots.
And then if you win Friday, then you go to the Great Minnesota High School State Hockey Tournament, right?
Yep, if we win Friday, then it's on to the XL Energy Center for the state tournament. Starts on Thursday for AA.
You scared?
Nope.
You're riding high confidence at this point.
Riding high confidence, got faith in our team. We're playing well.
Couple quick reminders. On Saturday, part 4 of Hockey Cards 101, all about EPAC, is released, goes live. I don't know whatever you call it. We had Danny Machado from Upper Deck to help us explain EPAC, and he did a great job. So looking forward to getting that episode out. And then next Thursday, we'll have our masterclass with Mitch Grotman on the Cup, which is now the new Cup release date. We'll get to that in a little bit. Just a reminder that the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast is a Patreon podcast. That means that we rely on your support to help us cover our expenses, to continue to produce more and hopefully better hockey card content, and to help us fund initiatives, even in a small way, to grow the hockey card hobby. Right now, Troy, you can still have the chance, I guess, to be one of our out of 99 supporters. And for $5 a month, support us via Patreon. You also get exclusive access to the Hockey Cards Gongshow Discord server. Everyone was following along on your high school hockey updates last night when I was posting them. I was using Twitter. Wasn't trying to leave you alone. But you do get access to the Gongshow Discord. It is $5 a month. It's simple to do. You can either go to the hockeycardsgongshow.com website, and there's a link there to become a patron, or you go to patreon.com, Patreon, and search for Hockey Cards Gong Show. There's a link in the show description for the podcast app you're listening to us on. And finally, within our social media where we have link trees in our profile, there's a link there. Since our last show, Troy, we've had 2 new patrons. We want to thank them for their support, KJC99 and Kwong. So thank you guys very, very much. All right, Troy, ready for the game plan?
On today's show, we begin with the greatest hockey player to wear number 57. This is followed by a Young Guns Variations deep dive. Then it's off to Hobby News, followed by an interview with Dan from Stand Up Displays. We then take a look at new product releases and take a quick look at the current live PWCC Weekly Auction. Then we end with Listener Mailbag. All right, big show, always a big show, I guess. But we are going to start with hockey's most famous player to wear number 57, who would be David Perron.
It's not Ryan O'Reilly?
Not Ryan O'Reilly. It's David Perron. What is O'Reilly's number anyways? Who knows? All right.
Okay, wait. Before you get into it. So for Valentine's, I got my 14-year-old daughter a Valentine. And because I'm a hockey card nerd, last night when my wife sent me shopping to get her all the stuff, I threw in 3 just retail packs of Series 1 2022. And in like a typical retail series pack, there's a hit card in the middle. And she did get 1 Young Gun. But what else is in there, of course? A center of attention, Ryan O'Reilly. I get Ryan O'Reilly every time I open up anything as it relates to hockey cards. It's called O'Reilly.
He follows us both around. He's number 90. I just looked that up too.
So we got a while to wait for that one.
Yeah, we got to wait for Ryan O'Reilly. All right, David Perron. He is a winger, still currently playing. And as of the date I did all my research, which was late last night, he has played in 1,025 regular season games over a current 16-season NHL career. Perron has played for 6 NHL teams, started his career with 6 seasons with St. Louis, then had stints with Edmonton, Pittsburgh, Anaheim, then back to St. Louis, then Vegas, and then back to St. Louis again. And now he's finally with Detroit, where he's currently playing.
So it seems like St. Louis is like the girlfriend he just can't quit.
Yeah, they St. Louis... He's been there 3 times. They just always kind of bring him back. You know a player well enough, and you know what he can do, and he fits what you're trying to accomplish. I can see that happening. David Perron, he is a 1-time Stanley Cup winner. in the 2018-19 season with St. Louis. The only reason I remember that one is that's the year that they had the Gloria song playing way too often all the time. It was kind of their rallying cry. So that's the only reason I remember the Blues winning the Stanley Cup that year. Perron was selected to play in the 2008 NHL Young Stars game, and Perron was selected to play in the 2020 NHL All-Star game. I think he was one of those that got in by that whole last man standing vote where they let the fans kind of figure it out, and sometimes the fans go a little off the wall and put someone in there that you wouldn't expect. That's all we got for awards and accomplishments. Currently, in his career, Perron has 283 goals, 414 assists for 697 points. He's made the playoffs in 10 of his 16 NHL seasons, compiling a stat line of 24 goals, 37 assists for 61 points in 104 playoff games. Best season of Perron's career from a point standpoint was his 2017-18 season with Vegas, when Perron had 16 goals, 50 assists for 66 points in 70 games played. Perron is currently sitting on the third line with Detroit. He's a right winger on that third line and has 14 goals, 18 assists for 32 points in 52 games. Overall, Perron's career, it's kind of you hear the same thing, just different takes on it. Definitely been praised for his work ethic and perseverance. He's one of those guys when he was eligible to be drafted, I think it was in the Quebec Junior League, he got kind of skipped over. So he's one of those guys that got his chip on his shoulder, worked hard, finally made it to, got drafted by the juniors, and then it was kind of overlooked at first by NHL scouts, but then kind of had some breakout seasons in juniors and finally got drafted. I mean, everyone that you read about Perron, it's just he was out to prove himself. He didn't like being overlooked, and he kind of always plays with that kind of chip. Perron definitely has had a legacy of injury issues. It's included concussions, neck issues, rib injury, separated shoulders, the dreaded upper body injury where they don't tell you what it is. But that's kind of limited his playing time at certain seasons. He's also known for taking a lot of unnecessary penalties, which when you look at his career and you listen to some of the coaches talk about him, when he was getting healthy scratched at times or being moved down the lineup, usually the number one reason was he took unnecessary penalties. He was just a little too aggressive when he shouldn't have been.
Sounds like every player in the Wild right now, not named Kirill Kaprizov.
Yeah, the Wild are a whole different nightmare. Overall, Perron has had a productive career, has shown flashes of offensive skill, but he's been hampered by injuries, but continues to show his perseverance. He's on his 16th NHL season, so he's definitely still a hard worker and continuously out to prove himself. So fun facts for David Perron. These are, I don't know, maybe interesting fact, fun fact, whatever. So when he went to training camp with St. Louis, due to the language differences in St. Louis versus Quebec, obviously, Perron did not set up his bank account or cash checks from training camp. Just kind of held on to all of them and let them pile up until coach Andy Murray kind of realized it and took him in to set up his first bank account and credit card.
Remember that scene in Caddyshack when, was it Lacey Underalls goes to Chevy Chase's house and he's playing the piano and she picks up here's a check for $50,000.
Yeah, just hanging out there. Well, I know I tried the life of me think of the name. There's one guy, I don't know if he was a Minnesota athlete with the Vikings or if it's a more famous guy, that just coming from his background, he never had a bank account or anything. He had all this money. He just put it in a duffel bag. He'd go,
that's Marbury.
Who was it? Stefan Marbury. There you go. He would take it to the check cashing place. They charge him whatever, 20%, 25%, and he just throw it in a duffel bag.
He got caught not caught, but it was noticed by somebody involved with the team that there's money sticking out of a duffel bag, and he had $350,000 in cash in his duffel bag. He was just carrying around with it.
Pretty
crazy.
Interesting fact. All right, second, I'll call it a fun fact. Showed up to Blues training camp with white skates, which Andy Murray immediately ordered the equipment staff to paint black. That cracks me up. Give me your skates. We're going to go in there and slap some paint on them and get some spray paint.
Was white skates a fad for a while or something?
I don't know. I mean, I do remember white graphs, and they had the fluorescent yellow kind of name badge on them. But I don't remember all white skates a lot. And then our final fun fact for Perron. So remember what I said. He's 16 years in the NHL, and he's played with 6 different teams. On July 13th, 2022, Perron signed a 2-year, $9.5 million contract with the Detroit Red Wings. This was the first time in Perron's career he had signed an NHL contract with a team other than the St. Louis Blues.
That is crazy.
Yeah,
that's
that
a
one
good
sink
fun
in.
fact, right?
Yeah,
I like that.
let that one sink in. It's like, so he's been, I know he went to Vegas because he got left unprotected, but then, they assume his contract. And the other times, I think he's all been traded with current deals in place. So he just kind of kept those deals. But I thought that was very interesting. All right, cards, we can guess it. It's not going to be anything. His Young Guns is a 2007, his rookie card is a 2007 Upper Deck Young Guns, number 496. PSA 10 has a pop count of 5 with a gem rate of 26%. Last sale I could find using Card Ladder, I had to go back to November of 2019 in the PWCC Weekly for $52.89. Who knows what that would go for now, but that's what it was. The BGS 9.5 has a population of 7, gem rate of 70%. Last sale for that one, I had to go back to 2014 in an eBay auction for $12.38. He does have other cards out. Yeah, he's got some other cards out there. But like the whole graded population of Perrons is like 50 in PSA and probably right around there in VGS. So not a lot of hobby love or hype for good old David Perron. Interesting.
I feel like these are getting a little bit better though.
Yeah. Here's the whole thing. Back in the day, the old days, they only let them wear numbers, whatever, 1 through 25, we'll say. So all your awesome players had that. And now we're getting to the realm of you could wear any number. So we're going to have some lean years because we haven't had a lot of years where people would wear like 62 and stuff.
You know how you're talking about how they only let them wear certain numbers? Stick a pin in that thought because that's going to come back with an interesting Josh fun fact later on in the show. I think I would have
planned that, but I did not. I had no clue.
Thanks for the good setup there, Troy. Okay, Troy, you ready for a Gong Show first? We like that, right? Firsts are kind of fun. For the first time ever, really, on our show, a mailbag question was so good and so thought-provoking, it actually became not only a segment, but we slid her into the marquee kind of spot in the show. That's kind of cool, eh?
Very cool.
We'll review the question later because, of course, I didn't write it down. It's like 15 pages buried in our notes. But it is from Instagram user Mike6, so thank you. We thought he did such a good job that, again, we wanted to make it a segment. And basically, he asked if we could explain what are all the variations of Young Guns. And kind of realized we haven't ever done that yet.
Yeah, we probably brought it up in the 101, but we never deep dive. We just said we talked about what the Young Gun is, the base rookie card, and probably gave some of the examples of the variations, but never a deep dive.
It's a lot, man. Like, holy cow. After going through the last couple of days and making sure that we got all the information on everything, and I guess hopefully we do. But yeah, we're just going to go through all the different variations, kind of talk about what makes them unique or important in the hobby, and maybe some value kind of fun facts here and there. And the place to start is pretty obvious. It's with the base Young Guns. It's the hockey card flagship rookie, of course, for every player. It's one of the 3 staple cards, along with Future Watch Auto, Cup RPA for any player that we've kind of established here on our show, the 3 core cards. You get base Young Guns in one of the flagship series. So those are Upper Deck Series 1, Series 2, and Extended Series. They're also included in retail as well as hobby on EPAC. Mentioning EPAC is just a reminder of that little plug on Saturday for Hockey Cards 101. It'll be all about EPAC. General odds to pull a Young Guns, Troy, are 1 in 4 packs, and there's typically 50 Young Guns in each flagship Series 1 and 2 releases, and more recently 30 Young Guns in the checklist in the Extended Series release. So 130 rookies every year, which is a lot. How many rookies a year ultimately have any impact of significance in the NHL?
Handful.
20, 30?
Yeah, handful.
Maybe at the most. And I'm talking about not superstars, just people that
playing
and have a 5-year career. So the general pack odds to pull Young Guns are 1 in every 4 packs. And with, again, typically 50 Young Guns in Series 1 and 2 and 30 Young Guns in Extended Series. So we'll from a Series 1 and 2 perspective, if there's a guy you're targeting, like let's say Matty Beniers, you want to try to pull him out of a box or hobby box of 2022 Series 1, it's basically a 1 in 200 pack chance. So, and we've talked about this a lot before too, how where Young Guns kind of, I think at least, really strike a good balance between, they're not like ridiculous easy to get. They're not like Wander Franco rookies in almost every pack of Series 1 Topps baseball last year, but they're printed enough where if you really want one, they're accessible and affordable, and you can go ahead and get one. It's the most recognizable and traded hockey card there is. Big thing to consider with these is watching pop counts and gem rates as part of our Gong Show rules. and that from especially a long-term value perspective can affect as those pop counts get higher. The next Young Guns is probably my least favorite. It's the Young Guns Jumbo. Are you a Young Guns Jumbo guy?
I'm not a jumbo. They're too big. I don't have a good spot for them. You got to buy different stuff if you want to keep them. And they remind me of box toppers. Like, I'm not a big box topper guy either.
Yeah. They're retail exclusive, I think mainly found in blasters. With the name Jumbo, they're bigger, of course, than a traditional trading card. So a traditional trading card Troy is 2.5 inches by 3.5 inches. Jumbos are 3 by 5. They're less valuable than base Young Guns and typically have some slight design differences. Like in some years, like the UD logo, instead of being foiled, is color printed, stuff like that. I don't want to talk about Young Guns Jumbo a lot because I'm not super interested in it. But the biggest issue, and I'm curious if you've ever run into this, Troy, is that I don't know what to call them, like maybe unscrupulous or maybe a little bit shady eBay sellers will sometimes sell these and make it hard to distinguish that it's not a base Young Gun. And you can come very perilously close to, which I have a couple times, to buying them thinking, oh gosh, he's selling a Young Gun for 30% or 40% off of what it typically should be. And then at the last second, you find and buried in small print that it's a jumbo and abort that mission. So I can't believe that people haven't been duped by that before. Or do you just read more carefully than I do?
No, I don't think I've never run across it. My Young Guns Jumbo experiences, me and my daughter cleaning up my office, found 3 of them stuck in the bottom of a toy bin. Back when they were ripping, my daughter was ripping packs. We must have got them somehow. And we must not like them very much because they ended up in the bottom of a toy bin. It was no one you would have heard of. They're probably not in the league anymore. But
next one to cover is Young Guns Canvas, and we'll call like their associated parallels. A little bit smaller checklist. So as an example, in Series 1, there was 30 players on the Young Guns Canvas checklist. More difficult odds or harder to get or pull from packs. So from hobby, e-pack, retail, or tins, it's 1 in 48 packs. And blasters, it's 1 in 96. And fat pack, or for blasters and fat packs, and 1 in 24 mega packs. That's something too, and this is a little bit tiny tangent, but if you're at Target or Walmart or wherever buying groceries or whatnot, and you see a blaster and you think, oh, they would buy some hockey cards. Yeah, the Young Guns odds are the same, but everything else is typically a lot tougher in a blaster. Just FYI. There are parallel cards. They tend to not be super consistent. So like this year's the black and white. They also have like printing plate. They're one-on-ones that are hobby and e-pack exclusive. I couldn't find the odds for black and white parallels this year. Not sure if even Upper Deck announced those. Even asked on our Discord and had some guys like 419 Sports Guy who did some research and seems to think that, no, they're not published, but they're pretty short print or super short print. And, you know, while the one thing that I find most interesting about Canvas is even though their odds are much tougher than base Young Guns, they're typically valued less, right? This is like the one variation of Young Guns other than Jumbo that typically has less value than the base.
Yeah.
Have you ever wondered why?
I don't know why. I always like the canvas, how they look and the texture of the cards. But yeah, we usually see them. It's not there'd be that one rare instance where maybe the canvas will go, but probably 90%, 99% of the time it goes for less.
And with the most recent Series 1, the black super short print or short print will definitely go for more than the base Young Gun. But I was just more speaking about the base canvas Young Gun. Okay, then the next one to cover is the Young Guns French variation, Unis Loops, or whatever they call it. Another butchered pronunciation on our show. Just added to the 1 of 10 million by this point. These Troy are 1 in 120 packs, at least in the most recent 2022 Series 1. I don't remember the exact details, but I did read not too long ago that the history of the French variation cards has to do with legislation that was passed in Canada, where products that are produced for a Canadian audience, because there are French-speaking parts of the country that have to include the French language. And after reading that, I kind of thought they were cooler, right? Because it's like, oh, it wasn't necessarily like all gimmicky. There was a specific mandate that they had to do with this. In general, though, I'm not a big French collector unless I find a big deal or a good deal on one. They do carry a premium value, as their odds are definitely quite a bit tougher. So using an example of like the 2021 Trevor Zegras Young Guns, where the base Young Gun PSA 10, let's say, has a population of 561, currently sells for around 240. The French, which is a population of 20. So here's where we go back to our Gongshow rules, and we talk about cards that are harder to replace. You go from 561 pop to 20, it sells for a little more than double, typically about 500 US. One thing, though, Troy, that I did notice in doing some price research this morning on French Young Guns is I saw a number of outliers where people were getting them in auctions on eBay in particular for quite a bit less than they go for buy it now. Like in the one that I quoted for the French Zegras PSA 10 Young Gun sale, the last was like 523. Someone got the same day in an auction for like 292 or something, $225 less. Just maybe if you are a big French Young Guns guy, you might know that already, or that might be something to look out for. Your thoughts on Young Guns French?
I would only collect Young Guns French if I'm PCing the player. Besides that, I don't have much interest in them.
Okay, the next one is Young Guns Clear Cut. Basic level, it's an acetate version of the Young Guns that does include the clear cut branding on it. It does, right? I'm second guessing that. No, it doesn't.
Yeah, I'm going to already jump in because I love these. I'm a big fan of the Young Guns Clear Cut.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of acetate too. So I stand corrected. I corrected myself. It's always good. Acetate card, acetate version of the Young Guns. For hobby odds, the most current releases are 1 in 288 packs, so fairly rare, Troy. I'll use our Matty Beniers example again, where, what did we say? He was 1 in 200 packs to pull his base Young Guns. If you're hoping to get a Matty Beniers Young Guns Clear Cut in 2022 Series 1, it would take an average of 14,400 packs. I think up to a few. So here's where I'm confused on. Honestly, I got to do more research. Is the difference between Young Guns Acetate and Young Guns Clear Cut? Do you know the difference?
Nope.
I think it has to do with sets. Like some, like maybe in like SP Authentic, you get Young Guns Acetate. It's amazing when you've been looking into hockey cards every single day for a year and you still get just baffled on a daily basis by stuff. I will say it's a little confusing though. You could have a Young Guns Clear Cut, which is an acetate, but then have a Young Guns Acetate, which is a clear cut. It's like, how are we supposed to keep this straight? Like, I think in the 2015 release for your Connor McDavid, it was definitely a Young Guns Acetate. I don't know, maybe it's because it doesn't roll off the tongue like clear cut that they're moving more towards clear cut. Like I said, no idea. I'll give you an example of value, though. The last 2016 Auston Matthews Young Guns Clear Cut PSA 10 sold for $5,680 on December 1. His 2016 Young Guns base PSA 10 last sold a few days ago for like $1,140. About a 5 times difference in value. Pop count for his Young Gun PSA 10 base is 2,812 versus 10 for the Young Guns Clear Cut PSA 10. So pretty rare. So you're a big clear cut guy.
Like,
do you own any ones that are your favorites? Or
nope, don't own any. I just like to look at them.
Next one is a biggie. It's the Young Guns exclusives. I'm calling this the upper middle class of Young Guns. Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah, I can live with that.
Not quite the entry cost of like the Boss Money high glass, of course, but it'll cost you a pretty penny to get in doing exclusives, especially on a hot young prospect. They use the same base Young Gun design, but add a touch of foil and maybe some color normally, and then of course have the exclusives badging, and they're numbered out of 100. If you're a Young Guns fan, you want something a little more rare, a little less replaceable, then these are typically a good bet. They can get pretty spendy, as I mentioned, especially for those hot prospects. And so you have to buy smart and do well from an ROI perspective. Last thing I had on this, which I think is true for this and the high gloss especially, is it's a card that when you see on, whether you're scrolling through your Instagram feed or you're on Facebook or you're sifting through eBay or PWCC auctions, whatever it might be, when you see it, you stop and look, right? Mm-hmm. It's a scroll stopper. Is that a term?
I think so. We made it one.
That's your Young Guns exclusives. We're not going to go right to high gloss though. Now this, Troy, is my favorite Young Gun. It's the ultra rare, I don't think like super known Young Guns clear cut exclusives. Ooh, right. It's like the best of everything. I think they're super short print. I looked somewhere and I thought 5 to 10 is what people were estimating how many are produced. So that is definitely not a lot. I love them. It's basically the clear-cut design with some added foil and, again, the exclusives badging. One kind of maybe point of confusion, though, is they're not numbered. And this goes back again to, I don't know if Upper Deck thinks through everything all the time. Because, right, you have Young Guns exclusives numbered out of 100. Then you have Young Guns clear-cut exclusives that are not numbered. So logic would tell you that it should be numbered. And I'm sure people pull these and are flipping the card over a million times trying to find what number out of 100 it is. But I don't know. Maybe we'll ask Billy that someday. Or Tony. That'd be a good question to ask them. These cards get crazy spendy. So an example here is I found 2021 Cole Caulfield's that sold for $9,892 US at the end of December, and then another one for $9,100 in January.
Is that raw or graded?
Yep. So they're PSA 10s. Should have added that to the notes. Are you a big fan of the clear-cut exclusives?
Oh, yeah. That looks sweet.
Okay, next we'll move into the big daddy, granddaddy of all Young Guns, the high gloss. Most noteworthy thing here, of course, is numbered out of 10. Frankly, probably one of the biggest cards in all of hockey, right, when it comes down to it. As an example, a 2015 Connor McDavid, Young Guns high gloss out of 10, BGS 9, last sold August 18th in the PWCC Premier, and it for $50,400 US, and that represented the highest selling Young Guns card of all time. If you could have any Young Guns, this is probably the one you'd want.
Yep.
So, now there's a couple other ones that will kind of move into the EPAC achievement cards ones. So there's the silver foil. So if you buy packs on EPAC or trade for a player's Young Guns, you can combine 5 base Young Guns through your EPAC account, and it'll be turned into one silver foil Young Guns. Then you can have it shipped to you or transferred to PW or to ComC. I've actually never seen one in person. Have you?
I have not.
And what I've noticed in photos is that they're not really differentiated much, it feels, from a base Young Gun. So I've always been a little bit curious, do they pop?
Yeah.
When they're in hand a little bit, but maybe someone can give us that feedback. From there, so on EPAC, if you combine 5 base Young Guns into one silver foil, you can combine 3 silver foil and get a speckled rainbow. So it's another EPAC achievement card. It's essentially then the equivalent of 15 base Young Guns. A graded gem mint, particularly a PSA 10, can get really valuable. Highest selling speckled rainbow Young Guns to date was last February. A 2019 Cale Makar Young Gun speckled rainbow sold for $7,600 US. Another reference point is the Cole Caulfields that have been going for more than 5,000 US lately. I, again, haven't ever seen one of these in person. Don't know if I love them from the photo, but have to keep an open mind for when I do see one.
Yeah, I think I like these
in person,
as long as the photo's good. I've seen some pretty bad photos where you can't even really tell it's a speckled rainbow. But when you see a good picture, I think I like them. They're definitely, I think they're, you really like it or you really hate it kind of card.
The next category was kind of hard to label. Because I'm just calling miscellaneous Young Guns. So this would include tributes, Easter eggs, retros that come within various sets. One in particular that has a lot of these is the Extended series. It's one of the things that actually makes Extended remotely interesting to me, typically. They'll have a Young Guns tribute insert subset. So for the most recent Extended series in 2021, they had a 2006 Young Guns card design tribute, which is a design I really liked. So I was kind of pretty hip on these. So if you wanted a tribute, Cole Caulfield, Trevor Zegras, Mo Seider, you could get it in the 2006 Young Guns design. Not as valuable as the base Young Guns. They seem to have about half of the value. So here's again another instance, just like with the base canvas, where they're actually less valuable than the base Young Guns. And then the other thing I added here is sometimes Upper Deck will throw in a super short print, kind of like Easter egg, retro. The biggest example there is in 2020 where there was a Kaprizov 2002 retro design that I believe was some very low printed. I remember the first time I saw that on eBay, I was so confused. I was like, what is this? And I had to spend 2 hours trying to figure out what it is. I've actually seen one of these in person at a local card shop here. They are awesome, that particular card. But anything I forgot there that comes to mind for you?
No, that just some people hate when they keep rehashing different Young Gun designs and throw them in. And
Yeah.
Seems like an easy way to get some more cards in there. But then there's other instances like PMG retros where they go crazy. People love them.
So that's our basic Young Gun variation recap. Hopefully that was helpful, especially to any new collectors. If and when, I'm sure we forgot something, just let us know and we'll own our mistake and add it to our announcements for next show. Want to make a quick mention for Gongshow partner and sponsor Slab Sharks, Troy, the eBay or Canadian eBay consigner. Their weekly auction ends tonight, so Thursday night. It ends every Thursday night. There's always some really cool hockey cards in their auctions. I was looking at the auction this week and tons of Cup RPAs and some really affordable ones too. You'd kind of want to definitely go check those out. There's a nice J-Rob Future Watch Auto PSA 10. Also a J-Rob Future Watch Auto patch with a beautiful patch. So it's a logo patch. I believe that one might be a PSA 9. And then there's a 2009. This is a little bit of a tease for our masterclass on the Cup. There's the 2009 SPX Brian Trottier patch auto that I really like. And as you hear Mitch explain, I believe in our masterclass that Trottier doesn't sign much anymore with Upper Deck. There's a little bit of a falling out. So that really stood out to me as an opportunity. If you're a Trottier fan or collector, you don't get any patch auto opportunities there. So again, tons of great cards. Just search for Slab Sharks Inc. and you'll find their eBay store. If you're a Canadian hockey card collector and you're thinking about selling, you might want to consider using Slab Sharks. And they, as a consignment service, they make it really, really easy for you. I don't know if you saw this, Troy, but a few days ago, one of our friends, Hockey Cards Up, posted a really cool YouTube video where he took, I think it was 7 cards, and he sold them himself through his eBay account, and he's a pretty established eBay seller, and then took the exact same 7 cards and consigned them through Slab Sharks. And results were pretty similar. I think he made a little bit more money on Slab Sharks, but when he factored in the time and hassle savings, he was actually pretty pleased with their results. And so if you've been thinking about Slab Sharks, wanted to look into them, that would be a good video to check out. You can also visit their Instagram account for payout information, how to consign, get the process started. If you're a Canadian, where of course 99% of all the good hockey cards are for now until we Americans figure out a way to buy them. Okay, let's go into hobby news. Kind of some sad news to start. Ovi going to miss some time due to the death of his father, who was 71 years old. Big bummer for hockey in that it looks like there's probably going to miss the Stadium Series. That's at least the last I saw. I don't know if you saw an update on that.
I've seen an update. Obviously any death of a parent, and he's got to travel back to Russia and all that crazy stuff.
So that's a huge bummer for the NHL, but completely understandable from a personal perspective. And you got to take care of your family business, of course, at that time. He does have 32 goals on the season, leads the Capitals in goals, of course, and is chasing Gretzky's all-time goals mark. It sounds like the Capitals are being super supportive. So when it was first announced he was going to be missing time, Caps coach Peter Laviolette had a quote. He said, "Listen, it's tough sometimes. Life is tough when it comes to your family and your parents. That's what matters. He's going to deal with some things right now, and we're going to be supportive. I don't see him back in the foreseeable future." Then I think a day later, Ovechkin announced on his Instagram that his father had passed away. I don't know if I've seen estimates of him being out a week or two, and I'm sure the Capitals are going to give him all the time he needs. Better news, Auston Matthews and the mustache, I think, return to play tonight. So with this Wednesday night when we're recording this, he's missed 5 games due to a knee sprain. I'm still baffled that it's like one of the only times I can remember in recent history where they've completely disclosed the injury.
Where they'd say lower body injury and let you figure it out.
I don't know. Do you think like hockey players really are like, they're going to target his knee, knowing that he had a knee sprain now?
I wouldn't put it past some of them.
The 25-year-old forward has 25 goals, 28 assists for 53 points in 47 games played this season, having a down year compared to last year. But everything you read, it seems like injuries have really impacted his season, have piled up, kind of can't shake the injury bug. Looking at his hockey cards real quick, over the past 3 months, his 2019 or 2016 Young Gun PSA 10 top 2,816 is down about 46% in the last 3 months, selling most recently for 1,051. That's what I saw. It's such a high pop, though. And I think like when that goes back to the whole pop count thing. When everything is going well, your pricing can hold. But the minute injuries pile up for a few months, you have a couple down months, there's no way your values can sustain. Last little bit of hobby news, Troy, is your guy, Connor McDavid. Tonight, might reach 100 points. He's currently at 97, 54 games played, pacing for 147. So it seems like he's slowed over the last month, his pace a little bit, but still pretty ridiculous for modern age of hockey here. He's first in the NHL in goals with 42, second with 55 assists to your favorite defenseman, Nikita Kucherov, who has 57 assists. We know he's a forward.
He has
18 more points.
We have to put that in there every time. We know he's a forward. It's an old joke.
Yeah, somebody let us know. I mean, in general, the people get that we have to do our disclaimer every time, but because we love driving old jokes into the ground, if you haven't noticed that yet either. So at 97 points, he's actually 18 points ahead of second place, which is his good buddy, Leon Draisaitl, who is second in the NHL with 79 points. McDavid keeps going. I'm guessing he'll get 97 tonight. It seems like it's crazy when you've got a player where it seems like 3 points in a game is slam dunk.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, it'd be awesome if he did. I'm curious if I should look this up before we even did the show. I wonder. Obviously, I'm guessing it's not going to be the fastest ever to 100, but I'm curious in the last 20 years, what's the fastest to 100? If this is even in the realm of that record.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, earlier in the day or yesterday, I think, I had the opportunity to talk with our good friend, Dan Patell from Stand Up Displays. They're a partner and sponsor of our show. Troy is in playoff hockey mode for high school hockey, so was busy doing X's and O's yesterday. And at some point, you got to meet Dan, because Dan's a hockey goalie. It's crazy that you've never talked to this guy. Your paths can't ever seem to cross. So we got to make that happen. So we're going to go ahead and roll that interview now. Okay, thrilled to have Dan Patell on the show. And Dan is the founder and owner of Stand Up Displays, family-owned company. What is really exciting to me about this conversation and highlighting a company in the hobby that comes from really a hockey card collector. And you're not just a hockey card collector. From what I've gotten to know you a little bit, Dan, you're really a hockey card family. So welcome to the show. Why don't we start there? How are you involved in hockey? When did you get involved in collecting hockey cards, and kind of what's your hobby backstory there?
Yeah. Hey, thanks for having me. But just like most of your listeners, I'm sure, I've been a hockey collector ever since I was a kid. So I grew up in Western New York, not far from the Buffalo area. Started playing hockey when I was 5 and, started collecting right around that time. I was, hockey obsessed, and then it just went along with playing. So, fast forward, you go through high school, girls, college, cars, all that, right? And then ultimately you wind up coming back to it when you have your own kids. So going back, I think 7 or 8 years now, I rediscovered hockey cards pre-COVID and started collecting again. And now my kids play hockey. So it's kind of come full circle. They're starting to play, they're starting to collect. And it's really, like you said, turned into a whole hockey family experience.
Okay, so where you are in Western New York, who's the team that people root for there? Is it the Sabres? Is that kind of the logical assumption? Or is it more the city teams? Or
it was a lot of Sabres fans, but I actually grew up a Rangers fan because of my parents.
Okay.
So, around 94, it was a big deal to be a Rangers fan. It was a while ago now, but it was a big deal to be a Rangers fan then. But around 1996, when the Nordiques went to Colorado, being a goalie, I followed Patrick Waugh and became an Avs fan. And it didn't hurt that they won the Cup their first year, too. So the cool new team won the Cup. So that's why I wound up being an Avs fan.
Are you a Waugh collector? Is that part of your PC then?
I am. So as a kid, I remember, flipping through the Beckett magazines because hockey wasn't that featured, but you always saw the Gretzky rookie, the Orr rookie, and then the Waugh rookie. So I kind of gravitated towards Waugh in the mid-90s, collected a lot of the stuff that I could easily get, but I never had one of his rookies until now. So now I mainly collect Waugh, mainly 90s inserts, but also a bunch of his rookie cards as well.
And then do you still root for the Rangers?
No, I don't. So I had to be different, going through my Rebel phase, and I've just been a diehard Avs fan ever since. So 96, I remember watching the Cup, sweeping the Panthers, and then 2001, we were actually on a trip, and I had to go ask a friend that lived locally, because we didn't have cable at the family's house that we were staying at, if we could go over and watch them win the Cup. So we had to kind of barge into somebody's house to make sure we didn't miss that.
Well, okay, so what's funny about that, and this is a conversation that I've had lots and lots with Canadian collectors, and they just don't realize how hard it is at times for us to watch hockey.
Yeah.
Like we've told this story on the podcast before, but so Troy and I are from Minnesota, and our North Stars got just spanked in the 91 Stanley Cup by Mario and the Pittsburgh Penguins. But the only way, and this is going back a long time, but I think it's still pertinent to this issue, there was almost no way for us to watch our team in the Stanley Cup. Remember like the old satellite dish days where it wasn't DirecTV, it was like a legit massive satellite dish. You had to have one of those and then pay like a $60 pay-per-view. And when it's your team in the Stanley Cup finals, and you basically are relegated to listening to it on the radio, I think it speaks to, and even in more recent issues where we've talked about how hard it is to watch games, how they're being buried on ESPN Plus, how they're being blacked out by the NHL in certain markets on TNT. It's like you start to understand why the sport isn't more popular in the U.S., right? Where you're going to watch your team in the Stanley Cup finals, and they don't have, it's like, why would that not be on broadcast TV?
Oh, I agree. I remember growing up, like you said, Buffalo fans in Western New York, the Rangers and the Sabres would be playing on the same night, and the Sabres always had priority. And frequently, if the Rangers were given priority and it wasn't sold out, it was blacked out. So then you're not watching any hockey. I remember that being a big issue. I remember there being newspaper articles about that. Why are these games being blocked out or blacked out? But to your point, it's hard. I know there's, I'm not local to Colorado, but I know there's a whole issue going on with altitude sports there, which is hurting the adoptability of the game. It's gotten a little better here. We've got MSG, which more often than not has a Sabres, Devils, or Rangers game. Sometimes Islanders, but not as much. So it's stronger now than when I was a kid, but it's still not as easy as it should be.
Okay, we're going to get into your company in a minute, but I know one of the things that you do with stand-up displays is you go to lots and lots of card shows, right?
Yep.
What have you noticed over the last, couple of years as it relates to, I guess, probably as you've gone across the country and just as for like what you see from a hockey card perspective at these shows?
Yeah. So I just got back from Culture Collision in Atlanta a few weeks ago. And, obviously Atlanta, not the strongest hockey market, having had two franchises that up and left. But I saw two really interesting things. Number one, hockey jerseys are very popular for people to wear at shows. So I know I saw at least two Tampa Bay jerseys while I was there. I saw a Blackhawks jersey. So I saw a lot of people representing hockey teams. I didn't have a chance to ask them if they were fans or not, but that was kind of cool to see. But secondly, I saw hockey when I had a chance to walk around at more than 50% of the tables, which is
really
significant. Yeah, significantly different than when, I went to shows 2 years ago, even during COVID, or like the Dallas show, for example. In Atlanta, there were actually 3 tables 100% dedicated to hockey.
Wow.
And the feedback from them was that the obvious choices went quick. So the McDavids, the Matthews, the Gretzkys, et cetera, they did bring some inventory of that, and that was moving. However, young guns have become well known across all facets of the hobby. So the second tier of that is, hey, this is a name of a young gun that I've seen before. I'm going to buy that. And so people are starting to prospect a little bit in hockey, even though they don't fully understand the game. So I think that was a really positive thing. I even bought a hockey card there. I managed to find something I've been looking for a while, but it's a 90s insert from Donruss of Patrick Waugh. They were out of 1,500. It's like a clear cut. I forget the actual name of the insert, but I ended up buying it for $15.
Wow.
A card that I've never seen in person before that rarely pops up on eBay just happened to be there. It was a pretty strong showing for hockey at a show in Georgia, which I thought was really encouraging.
Was it interesting hockey, like a lot of the cards, or was it kind of like the reason why I ask that is Troy and I go to shows here in Minnesota, and there's very little hockey, which is depressing in of itself. And normally, too, what there is kind of like your run of the mill young guns from the last couple years. But so it sounds like they had like some inserts or more higher end hockey, or how do you describe like what you saw from a mix at Atlanta?
Yeah. So when I say I saw hockey, there might be 3 or 4, right? Obviously at a show in Georgia, baseball sells really well. They're big time Braves fans. And then, basketball certainly does well as well. But like the table that's coming to mind, I ended up buying a Daniel Jones card because I'm a Giants fan at this table. But they, for example, had a DeBrincat Young Guns PSA 10, which
nice.
is not, I'd say it's tier 2 or 3 in terms of, the well-known Young Guns. It was probably overgraded because during COVID, people were submitting everything.
Yeah.
But it was occupying space on somebody's table that was primarily football in the middle of football playoffs. So that vendor felt that was a card that they were going to move at the show, which, I think is important. But, beyond that, like I said, McDavid, his Young Gun was so overprinted that everybody has them. So that was probably the most common hockey card that I saw at that show.
Okay, now I have a big picture to sports card question.
Sure.
Again, based on the fact that you guys travel around a lot, you go to a lot of shows, you're just at Culture Collision. Coming into this year, there's a lot of fear, of course, with the macroeconomic conditions and everything going on in the world and how the sports card market performed last year. And I think one of the things that is meaningful when trying at least to get a data point as far as hobby help is, how busy our shows. What's your read on what the show traffic has been like just this year in general and people kind of coming out and looking for sports cards?
Yeah, so sports cards in general, I was actually pretty surprised at the traffic for Culture Collision. It was a 3-day show, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I was there the whole time, and Friday was a much better day than I thought it was going to be.
Okay.
For example, we have our jersey stands, and obviously we were in the middle of the football playoffs at the time. I think Joe Burrow and Pat Mahomes carried the show. We have stands that are, similar to their jerseys that sold incredibly well on Friday to the point that I basically cleared out of my inventory on Friday.
Wow.
I was very encouraged by what I saw. Friday is always a good indicator of how the show's going to go, but Saturday is obviously the money day. Yeah. And it was shoulder to shoulder at certain points on Saturday. So people are still going to shows. If anything, it's better than, one of the last Dallas shows that I went to. So in my opinion, I think the market is certainly strong. And I think that what we're seeing now is it's collectors run the show as opposed to flippers. Obviously, there's still some flippers, but I think we're starting to see it solidify a bit into the collector realm.
No, that's a good read. And it's nice to hear that traffic is good because, like I said, I think that was a big fear coming into this year. Okay, so grew up playing hockey. You're a goalie. Troy's going to be mad that he wasn't here today because at some point you guys got to swap goalie stories. But
absolutely.
And then you grew up collecting cards. And at some point, and I love entrepreneurial stories. And so I'm really excited to hear this one. You decide to turn your hobby and passion into a business. So kind of walk us through how that happened.
Sure. So when I got back into hockey cards, and the story goes, so I actually bought, Auston Matthews was 16-17. So my first purchase back into the hobby was a blaster of 16-17 Series 1. And in that blaster, I pulled a Matthews. And I was like, that's what everybody wants. This is easy. Well, unfortunately, it's not that easy. But no, so I pulled a Matthews, and I was hooked because obviously, we got the card we were looking for.
Do you still have it?
I don't. So I actually graded it, and I think I ended up selling it for around $400. It was a PSA 10, which obviously I've got other stories about selling too early, but it is what it is.
Yeah, that's all right.
But getting back into it, I had been introduced to 3D printing by a good friend of mine growing up, and I got these cards. It's like, hey, I can just throw them in a box, forget about them. But I was working from home at the time, and it's like, I can enjoy these things. Why would I stash them? So I started looking for ways to display them, and I noticed that there really wasn't anything great. There's some really generic, cheap products out there, but I said, hey, I'll design something. So I designed something to hold a top loader that, holds it right on the shelf. And from there, once you have the design, I showed it to some people, and they're like, that's a good idea. Have you ever thought about selling them? And, around that time, I found the Blowout forums and Reddit and all that. So I started posting it, and people were like, hey, that's a good idea. You should sell them. So put them up on Etsy because the design was done. And, it started off selling a couple here and there. And then it's like, I'm able to pay my car payment. This is really cool. That was probably 3 or 4 months in. And then 6 to 8 months in, it's like, I think I could pay my mortgage doing this.
Wow.
And then fast forward 2 or 3, we're almost 2 years into it now full time. So we've been doing this since 2017. Now we're feeding our family with this. So it's, the rise has been pretty meteoric while we're innovating the whole way. And I apologize if you can hear the banging. We're having some construction here at our office, but this has really evolved from a very simple idea and gotten really complicated with customization and innovation and all that, to the point that we're able to support our family plus create a business that's, like I told you before we got on here, we're going to be hiring soon. So really, really exciting, really cool path that if you had told me 12 years ago this is what I was going to do, I would have told you no way, absolutely not.
Well, I think that's a really great story, and I love when, so it sounds like that you identified a problem, right? You started collecting these cards and you wanted a way to display them and show them off and maybe start conversations with people, friends around the hobby. And if they're, just a slab, it's really hard to do that at times. Right. A lot of times they get shoved in boxes and we pay a lot of money for these things. And so, what I think product like yours is kind of part of a category of solutions that helps people really maximize the enjoyment out of their collection. So what are the ways that you've heard and like how people are using your stands and like where they're displaying cards and how they've kind of fit into a collector's PC?
Let's put this into perspective. Just think about how many top-loaded cards you have, just yourself.
Yeah.
Then you think about how many hundreds of thousands, if not millions of collectors there are, right? So you figure there's got to be in the billions in terms of top loaders. We know there's, roughly 50 plus million PSA slabs alone. So there's a lot of this stuff out there, and a lot of it is expensive, right? So people are putting it in a safe, but a lot of it is stuff that people want to collect and enjoy. So during COVID, the most common thing we heard was that people were buying our stands so they could put the cards literally on their desk while they were working, enjoy them themselves. We've also heard a lot of people taking cards into the office. Like you said, starting conversations around their favorite players and sports and stuff. It's adding a second layer or third layer to that sports conversation that everybody has at work.
There's still so many people that don't realize how valuable sports cards are. I mean, that's always like easiest. Somebody say, "Oh, that's a cute hockey card," and they'll start to ask you about it. And like, what does something like that cost? You're like $1,200, and there's like you can see their face goes blank. They're like, "What?"
Yeah, and they almost always follow it up with, "I got a shoebox of those back at the house. I should take a look." And I always say, go on eBay and check it out.
Yeah.
I would say the viral aspect of our product that led to the most growth was the customization. So breaking has been a huge aspect of the hobby. Love it or hate it, I think it's done a lot for the awareness of the hobby. It's caused boxes to get more expensive, but at the same time, you can buy your favorite team for less than you can for a box. It has its pros and its cons. But for us, a lot of those breakers have brands, logos, etc. And our product has been used really for two major purposes. Number one, it's, on their stream, they can have their logo on the stand right underneath the cards that they're breaking. So all the big cards that they hit, they can use it to advertise their brand, whether it's on social or at shows. And then the second aspect is it's a hobby relevant, the term that people say is tchotchke item, right? So if I go to a show, for example, some companies give out, customized cheap sunglasses. Great. If I wear those sunglasses to the grocery store, it's not really going to move the needle. I don't think people are going to read the name and go, "Oh, I should go on the website and figure out who that is." And, "Oh, it's a sports card company." But these companies like eBay and Topps and others and Beckett are realizing that, or PWCC is another big one. I know that, they're sponsoring your show. They can put or give these to customers that then use them in their socials. So you create almost like a family tree of brand recognition. So if I give away a stand with our logo on it, odds are people are going to use it in their stream and it becomes an advertising piece. Plus, it's a hobby relevant, great item to give out that people can use and show off their own cards. So I think it's those are the two major items that have really led to the growth of the company here over the last 3 years.
As I think about your business and how your stands can be used and benefited within the hockey hobby particularly, it's really, to me, it's that kind of that two-sided angle, like you said, where you have the PC side where you have these city jersey stands that really reflect like whether you collect like Nathan McKinnon or Connor McDavid or Alex Ovechkin, you get kind of a nice piece that really ties in the stand to the player and becomes a really attractive way to display your card. And then there's what you were just talking about. And I think I would even take that further. Not that, you obviously have a big breaking community. But one of the things that I've observed, Dan, over the last year is it seems like almost everybody is kind of trying to create their own little brand. Even if you're like when you look like on Instagram, it's not, there's very few people that are like Josh or Dan, right? It's everyone's kind of got like a name for their account. And where I think that you made a really great point is, especially when you are showing photos of your cards, having them on, so if people are to work with you and come up and put that brand onto a stand, that delivers a very strong impression, because sure, your tiny little icon is outside of the post and in your name, but people are focusing on that image.
Yep.
And that's going to be, I think, that strongest brand impression. The other thing I was just thinking about too is, for eBay selling, and if you're trying to like build your own profile for your eBay store, when you put the cards you're selling, if you have them at least a photo on that stand, right? Because eBay doesn't really, they want you to think that you're going to be able to brand your own store, but they want people to think it's eBay, right? And it's in their best interest for everyone to think that it's this homogenous environment that is just a whole bunch of cards. And I think as an eBay seller, if you can have that title and have your brand, your store brand, your seller brand right front and center, and you think about the thousands and thousands of impressions, some use like a marketing term, because that's the background I come from, of people seeing that over and over and over again. And then now you match it up when they're on Instagram and they see it. That's how you start to, I think, get known and build a presence within the hobby. And I can even tell a quick story from our perspective is, we do all these social media posts. We try to throw data out there. We'll do like gem rates and young guns or record sales. And a number of months ago, a person messaged us and said, dudes, you got to put like your logo on these images, because I'm seeing your posts like on Facebook and on Reddit and all over the place. And I don't think you're not getting the credit for it.
Right.
And so to us, that was like a huge lesson in building our brand. It is having that branding front and center. And I think like, kind of what you talked about, that's a big part of what you guys help people do.
Yeah, it's the coining and dating, as everybody that's ever traded cards, right, knows. You got to write your name and coin and date the post if you're trading or selling a card. It's effectively the same thing. You're associating it with your brand. Just to build on the point you made, think about your behavior when you're scrolling Instagram or you're scrolling eBay, right? It's do until something catches your eye. And you have maybe 1 second to make an impression on that person to try to create some level of engagement. And these products are a great way to do that. The presentation, really separates you from the other 1,000 posts that people scroll through. Plus, it's, to your point, creating brand recognition so that when they see it over and over again, it's like, hey, I'm seeing a lot of posts from this guy. I should give him a follow or, look into what they have to offer because I like what I'm seeing.
And so when I look at your products, like the first thing is you have these city jersey stands that are kind of the most popular players. They're the colors of the team that comes from that city, and then obviously the number. So if it's like if you have a Wayne Gretzky card, there's an Edmonton stand that has the blue and orange, and then a 99 on it. And we have a kind of an announcement, a fun thing we're going to do around that. And then you have a couple of custom products as well, where you have more of like is it like more like a 3D kind of mold where how do you describe that one?
So for our custom line, there's really two options. The first of which is what we've done for 3-4 years now, which is our 3D models. And that's all done with 3D printing. Those have been extremely popular. The only thing is there's some limitations. Like we can only do 5 total colors, can't do super fine details. And, we had a lot of requests for designs like that. So we then developed our second option, which is our direct print, which is similar to like an inkjet printer, where it actually prints directly onto an injection molded product now. So it's a true finished product. It's true to color. We can do literally anything on those, whether you want your face on it or a QR code or color fades, you name it. And those come with a cheaper price tag and a little bit better turnaround time as well. So it is the complete discussion of our evolution here. As we started with one technology, we've invested in another, And now we're able to really cover the whole gamut of any design that anybody throws at us one way or the other.
It's your direct print product is how I learned about you, because we have a friend and listener to our show named Irish Flyers Collector, and he put on his Instagram the stand. And I was like blown away, because he's big into the Flyers, of course, from Philadelphia. He's got an Irish background. He has a really kind of cool brand and design that he did around it. And it looked like the stand looked amazing. I was like, whoa, where did you get this? And so I reached out to him and I said, and I think it was around Black Friday when he ordered this, right at the end of November. And I'm like, dude, where did you get that? And he said, well, I got this from Stand Up Displays. He's like, the craziest thing is and I'm sure that you can't promise this in every case, but I ordered it on Friday and I had it on Monday. And I'm like, what?
Yep.
How did
so you caught us at a good time. We were prepping everything for Black Friday. And I think after Black Friday, that Saturday, we shipped something like 95 packages. But
oh my gosh,
I was working on designs around that time. But yeah, that's actually a good point. That stand was a picture of his tattoo. So we can literally do anything on there. And that's why we invested in that new technology, that direct print. So I'm not kidding. Like, we did Jeff Wilson's face on one. We've done QR codes for some people. It's just a really cool technology that allows us to do anything, and we can do it quick. So we're going to get, I think, 9 or 10 orders out today where, their customers approve the proofs either over the weekend or yesterday and today. And those are going to go out the door today. So it's just a much better turnaround time, whereas the 3D could be 3 to 4 weeks sometimes.
Well, and again, I think that if you are interested in kind of establishing your presence or building your brand, I would strongly recommend everyone go to your website. It's standupdisplays.co. It's really important for us to, we, like I've said a million times, we love that you're a hockey collector, and we're super, super grateful to you that you're supporting us, because we really want to grow the hockey hobby, and we need support from companies like yours. And you've been amazing and gracious and supportive and helpful in every way. And so it's a great opportunity for me, and on behalf of Troy too, to publicly thank you for that as well. We do have kind of something that I think is kind of really cool that we've been working on, and we want you guys, the listeners, to be part of this as well. So if you go to standupdisplays.co and you go into their city and jersey stands right now, I want to say you probably have like 7 or 8 hockey players that are represented in that, and you're looking to expand that a little bit. And we came up with 4 potential players that would be the next city jersey stand that Stand Up Displays sell. It would be either Auston Matthews, Jason Robertson, Matty Beniers, or Cole Caulfield. So what we're going to do from a Gong Show perspective is next Monday, we're going to put up an Instagram poll. So if you want to remember that, and we'll send out a lot of reminders, and we're going to kind of let you guys vote who you think the next player should be represented in the city jersey stands for Stand Up Displays. And if you do vote, we're going to pick at random one of you guys, and you'll get not only the stand that wins, but any of their other city or jersey stands of your choice, and kind of, thank you for your participation, and give you a say as far as, who the next really PC city jersey stand that Stand Up offers. So that should be kind of fun, Dan. I'm curious to see. Now, do you have a prediction between Matthews, Robertson, Beniers, and Caulfield? Who's going to win that?
So of those 4, I have a pretty strong idea of who I think is going to win, but I've been wrong before. You can just ask my wife.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see kind of what the people say, because look, we can make decisions on where we go, but I always like to get feedback. If you're not challenging your thoughts, you're going to lose. So my goal is to find out what makes the most sense, and see where the preference lies with the hockey community. I'm excited to see where it goes.
The other idea, this would have been harder to pull off, but when Troy and I were kind of trying to brainstorm ideas and how we can help promote your stands and kind of help you build out the inventory, we thought it would be kind of funny to somehow do a contest where, because you have these stands, right? It provides the opportunity to display your cards, to take a number of them and put your favorite cards on your living room mantle and see how long they last before your wife.
People do like face swaps or photo swaps on Reddit all the time, where it's like, I wonder how long until my mom figures out that I changed all the pictures for some random celebrity. My wife would probably just be like, whatever, and just let it sit there. But Yeah, you should figure it out. See how long you can get your card to stay there unnoticed.
I'm not sure mine would last a day. I have my card room in my office that I'm in, and that's where I've been told that all my card-related stuff can live. Well,
No, not to leave.
thank you again. It's been great information. I really do want to encourage everyone to go to standupdisplays.co. If you use a code Gongshow, you can save 10%. So that's always nice to another gracious offer for you there. And, best of luck and as you guys continue to grow and evolve and live out your dream. How cool is it to kind of turn something as fun as collecting hockey cards into your life's work? So congratulations on everything you've accomplished.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you to you guys. I love what you're doing from a hockey perspective because I think it's an underserved market. The content's great. The education level is awesome. And I'm more than happy to support that. So keep up the great work. I really appreciate it.
All right, Dan, we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you.
All right, we're back. Thanks again to Dan for joining the show. I think he had some good information. Interesting insight, too, I thought, as to what the traffic at shows, because I know he sets up at a lot of shows with his company, and that traffic's been very healthy. There's been lots of buyers lately, so I'll take that as a good time or a good sign for sports card collecting in general. But now we're going to roll into new product releases. Troy, what was your favorite, the cup on February 22nd moment?
Yep. It was funny. I think I actually said February 23rd in the previous episode, but it was the wrong date. But it just shows that I'm an oracle, and I just knew it was going to happen, so it got delayed. One day.
You are the hockey card oracle, you and Jeremy Lee. I think there's 8 oracles, right? And you're 2 of the 8. Yeah, so it's been pushed back. I haven't heard why. I think, though, in these situations, what happens is there's some sort of shipping delay, and they want to make sure that everyone has the product in hand. So if I had to guess, that's probably what the issue is. I don't know how much of an impact that has. I know I had seen a lot of breakers advertised and selling breaks. So I'm sure it's a little bit of a buzzkill from that perspective, but we've been waiting for 3 years. So what's another day? I am kind of, though, I'm starting to feel more and more that the cup fatigue is going to be a real thing.
I think it is too. And it actually kind of influences one of my mailbag question or answers.
Really? Ooh, mailbag teas from Troy.
We're so bad. We're like doing teases and we don't even know we're doing them. It's not like we're trying to do. It's not like we're trying to do these teases to get people to like stay tuned for right after this break.
We don't have like the Mike Greenberg art of the tease nailed down.
We have no journalism background or anything. So
it looks like one of my favorite sets might be next, and they're sneaking it in March 1st. That would be 2022-23 OPG paper. Just posted a design preview on Instagram a day or so ago. So if you haven't seen the card designs and basic set configuration, you might want to go check that out. Right now I'm seeing kind of the same pricing as last year, Troy, about $60 US pre-sale for hobby. And I get it. There's lots of people that poo-poo OPG.
Oh, we don't poo-poo. We don't poo-poo OPG.
We do not. Honestly, it makes me happy opening this product. You're not going to get rich. You're not going to pull a $10,000 card, but you get a lot of cards. You get like 4 hits a pack. A lot of interesting stuff to look at. Stuff I think a lot of people like. The playing cards, although not super valuable, are pretty awesome. There's always the 3D kind of chase hits. Those rookie cards are really cool. They had the Platinum Previews in last year. They had the Premier Foil Board Tall Boys. I'm telling you, man, they had some Easter eggs, some super short prints, photo variations. It's kind of got a little bit of everything. It's a massive base set.
Yeah.
It has to be the biggest set Upper Deck makes. It's 600 cards. They got the retro black borders, the blank back, red borders. I don't know. I just really, really like it.
You've you turned me on to these, like, when you started getting into them, and they're awesome. And you can get a 16-box case right now, so under $1,000, which, hey, might be something if you're into it.
Challenge, right? What percentage? So if you bought, let's say, 20 cases of OPG paper, which would be about 4 billion cards, and 20 cases of the cup, and you went case by case, you did like a case war for ROI. How many of the 20? How many times would the total value of the cup case exceed the total value of the...
That'd be awesome to do. So someone want to borrow us a bunch of... Actually, not borrow, give it, because we're not going to pay it back. If you can just borrow us $1 billion to buy a bunch of cup cases, will be good.
The fatal flaw, though, there would be, even if it's true that OPG probably had higher ROI, it would be like one of those deals where sure, you have $300 more value with OPC, but you have to sell 700 cards.
Yeah, and the ceiling on that cup card could be way higher.
Very, very, very true. Well, I love OPC. One point I want to make, though, and it's kind of an overarching to all the products we're going to talk about. So after we close our OPC conversation, then we're going to talk about Clear Cut the next. The next 3 releases look like they're all from 3 separate set years. So 2020 the Cup, 2022 OPC paper, and 2021 Clear Cut. Because the other thing that I see a lot when you mention OPC paper, and some people had actually brought this up in our design preview post, they're just like, well, just give us platinum. It's like, yeah, I like platinum too, love platinum, just as much as I do paper. But one thing we got to keep straight is that on what looks like on March 1st that's coming out is the 2022 OPC paper. When platinum is released in a month-ish or so, it'll be 2021 platinum. Holy crap, I'm confused. I need a drink.
Yeah, it's getting to that crazy time. But again, like we've said 1,000 times, this has to happen. This is what's going to happen if we want them to catch up.
Last thing I'll say, too, about OPC paper before all the haters want to shut off the podcast here is I think it's a great gift, especially for kids.
Yeah.
If you want to get a kid a hobby box that's not $600 and you want them to get lots of cards, lots of shiny, lots of variation, cool inserts, tons of their favorite player, to me, it's way better than MVP.
And this is not saying you're going to get this, but I think we've been pretty lucky on getting platinum preview cards, OPC platinum preview cards, because I've hit a Cole Caulfield at a 25. Was it the Red Surge? I can't remember what it was called. And then you, I think, got a platinum preview also. Was it Caulfield too?
I got a Caulfield base platinum preview, but then I got a Sidney Crosby Cosmic out of 75,
That's right.
And then a Sidney Crosby Emerald Surge out of 10.
Yeah.
I think the platinum previews are very, very cool. Love them. I didn't see if they're back this year. In 2022, I'd be pretty disappointed if they weren't, but I haven't looked real hard either. Okay, we'll move on to 2021 Clear Cut. So again, we've covered 2020 the Cup, 2022 OPC, and now we're to 2021 Clear Cut. Holy cow. Clear Cut release date's looking like March 8th, so it could be pretty hot and heavy over the next 3 weeks. If you have the Cup on the 23rd, OPC on the 1st, Clear Cut on the 8th, that'd be 3 straight weeks, right? Yeah, it would have to be. If you're not familiar with Clear Cut, it is a pretty cool product. I call this like a gambler's product, though. It's a 1-card box. Mm-hmm. The cards are usually pretty cool. Each subset, it really comes down to the checklist name because although it's a 1-card box, it's a really big checklist. And at the end of the day, you can get a $2,000 card out of this box. I wouldn't be shocked, and it would not equally as shocked to get a $2 card.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost set up for breaking. To me, the most interesting thing between 2020 Clear Cut and 2021 is it looks like the price has been lowered. I don't know if this is Upper Deck's doing or if the wholesalers had too much of it left over, but where it kind of came out in pre-sales, I think it was $140 US
that was last year
for 2020. All the pre-sales we're seeing is $100. So it is more interesting to me at $100. In this set, some of my favorites are they have Young Gun, like acetate thicker. I don't know if they're thick. I shouldn't say it, but they're auto versions. So if you ever this is the one kind of Young Gunny auto. Sometimes they don't say Young Guns too. Sometimes they're just high gloss. It's a tiny bit confusing there. But all that being said, my favorite cards are the canvas that are autoed, and in particular, like the red ink autos and the blue ink autos. Just love those. We're going to move on to our PWCC weekly preview. So each week we take a look at their weekly auction and particularly their hockey cards, because I hope you've noticed at this point we're a Hockey Cards podcast. That would be weird if you haven't. PWCC, of course, is a Gongshow partner and sponsor, and we want to thank them for supporting our show. Little programming note, after a 1-week hiatus for everyone, including ourselves, to enjoy the Super Bowl, me and my good buddy Jeremy Lee, someone alluded into last week's mailbag that we're pretty close. We're back at it this Sunday night at 8:30 Central Standard Time on Jeremy Lee Sports Card Live. We're doing a live PWCC weekly hockey close recap. I don't know what you call it. We're just there at the end of the auction talking about hockey cards. It's a fun time. So be sure to check that out. So this week, Troy, there's a little bit more in the weekly auction. There's 209 hockey cards, and we picked out, like we always do, a couple of our favorites. So I'll start on the vintage side with a 1957 Parkhurst Frank Mahovlich PSA 8 Pop 54. It's his rookie card. What I'll say again is part of what I love about this segment is it gives us the opportunity to research players and cards that we're not that familiar with and share them with everyone else too. And especially on the vintage side to learn the history of the game. It's a Pop 54 for this PSA 8. There's 10 PSA 9s, 0 PSA 10. Mahavlich is a 6-time Stanley Cup champion, Troy. He was named in 2017 as one of the 100 greatest hockey players of all time. His nickname, we love nicknames, right?
We do love nicknames.
The Big M.
I like it. I like it.
Oh, you have to bleep that out now.
Get the goal horn.
Get the goal horn. He was 6'1", 205 pounds as a player, and given when his career started in 1957, that was a pretty big dude. Played 20 seasons in the NHL for the Maple Leafs, Red Wings, and Canadiens.
So he played for half the league? Is that what we're saying?
Played for half the league. His first 12 years were in Toronto. He scored 533 goals and 570 assists for 1,103 points in his NHL career. Won the Calder for his rookie season. That kind of makes a rookie card more significant to me if it's a
for sure
Calder winner from that year. Okay, we're coming full. Oh, no, not yet. He was inducted to the Hockey Hall of Fame in 1981. Yeah. Now we're coming back to our fun fact full circle moment. Wish we had this is the fun fact full circle moment. All right, I got a couple of them. So his number 27, Troy, is retired by the Maple Leafs, but it's shared with Daryl Sittler.
Ooh, interesting.
So the Maple Leafs retired the number 27 for two dudes, Mahavlich and Sittler.
When they retired Mahavlich's, was Sittler playing with and still wearing 27? Because I'm wondering, that seems odd that they would let another player wear a number that was retired. That kind of goes against the whole purpose of retiring the number.
Maybe they couldn't decide.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
And I'm also, full disclosure, completely trusting Wikipedia, which has never been wrong. So, yeah, going out on a little bit of a limb there. Second, Mahavlich fun fact. After playing in the NHL, he served as a Canadian senator.
Ah, interesting.
A politician there. You guys got to go to the PWCC Weekly Auction on pwccmarketplace.com and check out the card out. It's an awesome card. Looks amazing. It's kind of a painted image like they were at the time, but very kind of minimalist, kind of in a cool pose. I would really, really love to have this card. And kind of a fun fact, too, from Jeremy Lee's masterclass on the 1951-63 Parkhurst run. And you can check that out on our website, hockeycardsgongshow.com. So the card number is 17. There's another 17 in the 1957 Parkhurst set. So it's Frank Mahavlich. And because this is where, what Jeremy talked about, where at the time, Parkhurst was only printing Canadian teams in Canada and U.S. teams, I think were tops or something like that in the U.S. And now I'm butchering it. You have to go back and listen to it. But what I know about the Canadian side is they did almost a checklist for the Canadiens in Montreal and then the Maple Leafs. So it was 1 through 20 or whatever for the Maple Leafs, 1 through 20 something probably for the Canadiens. And so the other 17 is Charlie Hodge from the Canadiens, who it was also his rookie card in 1957. Kind of neat, huh? So if you look up like 1957 Parkhurst card number 17.
Yeah, you better put the right name in.
Yeah, you got to have the right name because you might come up with a Charlie Hodge there. Last sale on this card, the Frank Mahavlich PSA 8 1957 Parkhurst was $3,000 US in May from the PWCC vault. All-time high was $3,200 US. That was May in 2021 from the PWCC Weekly. Any idea what the current bid is on this right now?
$1,925 US.
So at this time in the auction, that's pretty strong. We could have a record on our hands here, Troy. It could be a record moment for Frank Mahavlich. Okay, next card I want to feature is a 1974 OPG Dennis Potvin rookie. It's a PSA 9, Pop 24, and there's 10 PSA 10s. So Potvin is a Hall of Fame defenseman, was captain of the New York Islanders, a 4-time Stanley Cup champion, 3-time Norris Trophy winner, another guy in 2017 named to the NHL's 100 Greatest Players, played his entire career, Troy, from 1973 to 1988 with the Isles. That's always an awesome.
Yeah.
I love that when legendary players play for one team. Was quite a goal scorer on the blue line. Finished his career with 310 goals, 742 assists for 1,052 points. That's good for 5th all-time in goals by a defenseman. And Troy, he scored 20 or more goals in 9 of his 15 NHL season. Were you a Potvin guy?
I was, because I loved his helmet. It was the blue bubble helmet, basically.
Oh, he was blue bubble helmet guy when you were growing up when you were a kid?
Oh, yeah, I remember
Nice.
his helmet.
His number 5 was retired by the Islanders in 1992. This is kind of a cool fun fact. The first number ever retired by the franchise.
Oh, that is interesting. I like it. That's a good fun fact.
I'm just killing the fun facts lately. Last sale on the 1974 OPC Dennis Pop and PSA 9 was $1,860 US back in November on the PWCC Weekly. All-time high, $2,400 US in May 2022 via the PWCC Weekly. What's the current bid, Troy?
So before I give you the current bid, I'm actually going to say something about this card because you got to go look at it. It looks fantastic. I'm just wondering, did he leave any ladies for anyone else, in the arena? He has got the best flow and stash in this picture. I love it. He just looks like a hockey player from the 70s. He would definitely make the hockey all hair team with that photo. It's kind of far away, but you can tell there's good flow there. Current bid, $1,000 US.
Okay, again, pretty strong. The last sale was $1,860 US. So, all right, you had picked out a vintage card too.
I did.
You went old school, man.
I went old school because I was looking through it and I'm like, Then I just kind of remembered that we were talking with Mitch about the cup, and then we also had we did a little bit of a deep dive on the checklist and kind of talked about it. But I remember looking at the cut signatures, and one of the names you always hear about, the old school hockey, is Clancy. And then obviously I saw that there's a King Clancy card. It's a 1933 OPC Series A, King Clancy number 31, PSA 6. And I immediately, that's my card. That's the one I'm looking at because it looks awesome. So I'm going to do a little research and check it out. Okay, I just went down almost a player rundown mode because I didn't know much about Clancy at all. So I'm like, well, I have to start doing some research and learn about this guy. All right, his actual name was not King Clancy. It was Francis Michael Clancy. And then from everyone's most trusted source, Wikipedia.
Wait a minute. I know why he changed his name to King Clancy. Because had he not, he would be Francis Clancy.
I didn't even think about that. Francis Clancy.
Clancy.
Yeah, it's probably a good thing he did change it.
Oh, he's Francie Clancy for me forever now.
All right, so why did he get the nickname? Here it is. Clancy's nickname King originates from his father Tom, who was the first King Clancy and played football with the Ottawa Rough Riders. At the time, the football was not snapped as is done today, but was heeled back from the line. Don't ask me what that means. Frank's father was very good at this and was named King of the Healers, or King for short. There you go. Eventually, the nickname was transferred to Frank, and now he's known as King.
Does that mean that they kind of like pushed it back with their heel?
I don't know. I must have. But it's like you can be really good as a healer. Like that was a difficult skill. It sounds like, but that's why. So all right, let's look at. We got to do a brief bio of Clancy just because I didn't know that much about him. He's a defenseman. Played 16 seasons in the NHL, 9 with Ottawa and 7 with Toronto. 592 regular season games, 137 goals, 150 assists for 287 points. When he retired in 1937, he was the highest scoring defenseman in NHL history. 3-time Cup winner, NHL Hall of Fame, and was named top 100 players in NHL history. Now, here's the great thing. After he was done playing, he doesn't do the normal progression of what people do after they retire. He became an NHL referee for 11 years.
That's amazing.
That is, I love it. So he becomes
that would never happen.
No.
Can you imagine Auston Matthews, the linesman?
Yeah, the linesman trying to call offsides. And so after he was a referee, then he transitioned to the coaching and management positions. At the time of his death, Clancy was associated with professional hockey for 65 years.
Wow.
All right, fun fact. During a March 31st, 1923 Stanley Cup game, let's remember this, Stanley Cup game against the Edmonton Eskimos, Clancy became the first hockey player to play all 6 positions during one game. In the third period, goaltender Clint Benedict was given a 2-minute penalty. At this time, goalies served their own penalties. Not wanting to leave the net open, Clancy played goal for the 2 minutes Benedict was in the box. This is just fantastic. All right. If you really want to know more about him, go read his NHL Top 100 Greatest Player bio on NHL.com. Fascinating figure, lived a good life, kind of a rebel rouser, kind of a, we'll say, crap talker. So it was a really good read on him. All right, so let's go back to the card. Card is PSA 6, looks super nice. I love the card. It's got an awkward pose. He's got all the old equipment on. the pose is something else. He's like reaching way down. His bottom hand is almost at the blade. I don't know what they were thinking with this picture.
Do you think these guys knew that they looked ridiculous?
I don't know.
And were like,
I really don't. But it's like,
come on, man.
But it's a card that you look at and I could be like, yep, that looks like something from the 30s, just with the equipment and everything.
And in like 1923 or whatever that was, or 30s.
33, yeah.
Those were like long exposure cameras too, weren't they? Or is that more the 1800s? Like where you had to like sit there for 4 minutes?
I don't know. I haven't started my photography podcast yet. I guess that's next.
Okay.
But yeah,
get on that.
Yeah. Anyways, background, it's got some star. It's got a big star and then some other little stars. The color, maybe I would like a different background color, but the card looks awesome. And right now, current bid, $400 US.
For Francie Clancy. Otherwise known as King Clancy. Well, how do you segue from that into the modern, except to go to a biggie? And if you've listened to the beginning of the show, and it'll be weird, I guess, if you haven't at this point, it's a Young Guns exclusives, which we now know so much more about. The 2015 Connor McDavid Young Gun exclusive out of 100, BGS 9, is in this week's PWCC Weekly. That's a pretty big card, huh, Trey?
Yeah, I was wondering. I was just trying to think in my head what the price of that thing is. And yeah, that seems probably at the upper limit of a weekly auction card, it seems like.
I was kind of wondering if it would be a premier candidate, and I'm sure it was considered at least. So when I saw the grade on this at BGS 9, I got curious on the pop counts to see how many were graded, etc. So I went to BGS, and there's 89 of the 100 2015 Connor McDavid Young Guns exclusives that are graded by BGS. There's 1 8, 9 8.5s, 63 9s, and 16 BGS 9.5s. Then I went to PSA and found that there's been 13 graded. There's 3 PSA 8, 6 PSA 9, and 4 PSA 10. I know this isn't a math show, Troy, but when you add the 89 graded at BGS and the 13 graded at PSA, I think that comes out to 102.
Somebody cracked one or two.
Or more.
Well,
is this a conspiracy or is it just more crack-a-lacking our cards and resub on them?
I'm curious because on the holder, I mean, you could look up every one of them, right? You could see a picture on. Do they have the pictures on the website?
I don't think so.
That's a good question.
We spend a lot of time on the show, but we don't spend that much time.
Yeah, I was just wondering if someone wanted to do the research, you could probably, if they had the images archived, you could figure out which ones they were.
Well, and that's assuming too that number one, all 100 have been pulled.
Yeah, and all 100 are submitted. That would be odd.
And all 100 have been submitted too. So there's got to be a lot of cracking that's going on, or one of their pop reports, because I checked it numerous times. We talked a lot about long-term value of Young Guns potential with high degree of play, just base Young Guns, comparing like that to exclusives. Base Young Guns are super replaceable. Obviously, a card like this does not come up for sale very often. So to be able to get your hands on one of the 100, we think, exclusive Young Guns for such a generational talent and legend in the making is, I think, a super big deal. I am a little surprised, I guess, it's not in the premiere, but they know how to make those calls, of course, better than we do. Looking at the sales history for the card, the last sale was $9,300 US on July 31st of last summer in the PWCC Weekly Auction, which I think is kind of cool in this case, because given it was in the PWCC and this one is in the PWCC, it'll give, I think, Troy, a great barometer or pulse check, whatever you want to call it, on the McDavid market over the last 6 months. Does this card finish above that 9,300 or below? All-time high for a McDavid Young Guns exclusives BGS 9. Again, this is the most commonly graded one at 63, apparently, is 14,400, set almost exactly a year ago in the PWCC premiere. So yeah, there's our answer. It has been in the premiere as well. What's the current bid looking like?
$6,250 US.
Ooh, that's strong. Because you got to factor in the buyer's premium into that as well, too. So that's pretty strong. Oh, there. Troy, you hear that? You hear it? That is the Connor Bedard hype train rolling on by.
We make a
this is
purchase.
exciting.
We bought a struggle bus, and now we've bought a Connor Bedard hype train.
We are spending all of our Patreon money on stupid buses and trains. Sure enough, Troy, we do have a Connor Bedard in this week's PWCC Weekly. It is the 2020 Regina Pats team set Connor Bedard rookie PSA 10 pop count 204. There's 262 of these that have been graded by PSA, so it's a gem rate of a very healthy 78%. This would be his, I guess, WHL rookie. It's not an Upper Deck card. I did go and look at the back and try to, it doesn't even have who it's produced by, like a copyright on it, which is kind of rando and weird. So it must have been produced by the Pats, his WHL team. Last sale, Troy, are you ready for this? $993 US by eBay on February 4th. All-time high from about a year ago on February 16, 2022, $2,950 US. Holy smokes. Now, you've already declared that you are the conductor of the Connor Bedard hype train, and I say, prove it. I want you to buy this card for whatever it costs.
Wow.
No, it's probably not a good idea.
You want to know the current bid?
What?
$62 US.
You know who has that? Who's winning that current bid of $62 US? It is me.
Oh, it's you?
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, I'm not gonna pay $900 for it, but yeah. So nobody bid. Let me win it for. I don't know if PWCC would like that, but I don't know. What are your thoughts? This whole Connor Bedard thing is just
man. I'm on the hype train, like you said. I'm a conductor. However, I don't think I'm touching this.
This is a case too where I think this card is only going down in value, right? Because it's a 78% gem rate. Who knows how many they printed?
Yeah, I mean, maybe you can.
There could be a few thousand of these around at least. I should look it up raw. I wonder what it's worth raw. I'm gonna have to do that at some point. Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how many people kind of fight after this one as the auction closes. Okay, Troy, you have any other thoughts on the modern section of hockey?
There were a couple cards. Okay, after the shell shock of the Patrick Kane BGS authenticated rookie patch auto debacle that we got taken care of, I did see that there was a 2008 Upper Deck the Cup Steven Stamkos rookie patch auto out of 99 in this auction. And it's in a holder that's a BGS authentic. I think now that might be a Gong Show rule for rookie patch autos and BGS authentic holders to maybe check on that. Think twice about those.
What is it? It's Gong Show rule number 2, never trust a great patch.
Okay, there it is. Yep, it's in there. Yeah. Good job up by me for remembering that. And then I actually did do a little research on this card. I went out to the Hobby Insider archive and found the card, and it looks exactly the same. So if you were going to bid on this card, I think you can feel a little bit more confident that it is the correct card and no funny patch swaps or anything. But again, if you like this card, go look at the Hobby Insider archive so you can see what's going on there. And when I looked at this card, the current bid was $125. It might have went up since then, but that was yesterday.
Yeah.
Second card I saw that just kind of intrigued me from the picture was a 1996 Be a Player stacking the pads, Patrick Waugh, number 13. PSA 10. I don't know, Josh, if you looked at this card before we recorded or if you know what I'm talking about, but
I did because I was considering bidding on it.
Honestly think it looks like the puck's in the net and that he's laying on the ice. It just seems a really odd photo for stacking the pads because if you've ever seen goalies stack the pads, they fly across, their pads are on top of each other. This one just kind of looks like they took it too late and he's just laying there with a puck in the net. I don't know. I mean, the pads are maybe kind of stacked. They're at an angle. But I thought it was just a really kind of a goofy card. And when I looked at it, the bid was $11. But if that's your thing.
That's a Pinnacle card, right?
I don't know who made it.
I believe it is. Because I actually went down the rabbit hole and I did a bunch of research on it. Last thing I'll say on the PWCC is, so I went through the cards first just because of our timing. And I'm super glad you went with Fancy Clancy because that makes me really happy. But I had intentionally bypassed the 71 OPG Ken Dryden PSA 9. I thought for sure that might be one that...
I tried to... maybe this isn't the right thing, but it seems like Ken Dryden's in there all the time, that card.
Yeah.
So I tried to... I'm always trying to find something different that we haven't talked about, because I think we did look at that once. But yeah, when they... it probably is a good rule, though, when it gets in those PSA 10s and 9s to probably take a little closer look.
Oh, you made the right call, dude. Fancy Clancy is gold. It's that time of the week. It's the Gong Show mailbag. One of my favorite things lately has been to see how the questions evolve each week. Like it was like last week or the week before, we had some kind of surreal, ridiculous, hilarious questions. This week's ones were deep, man. I was like, God, I have to think about this.
Yeah, you
I don't know if I can answer this question.
You took the lead on this thing, man. Holy cow.
So great questions, though. Super good. And excited to get to them. There's a lot, so we're going to get started right away. From Gongshow Discord, Philadelphia Flyogram. Okay, this is a fun one to start with. He said, let's talk the intro song. Please tell me that's Troy on the keys, because that's what I picture in my head when each episode starts. That made my life, Philadelphia Flyogram. Thank you for saying that. I've actually signed Troy up for piano lessons because we're going to re-record it with him playing the piano and just head bopping and swaying. And
I'm telling you, I just said this. I just laugh imagining me playing the piano like the Piano Cat GIF or GIF, where the cat's just banging away on the keyboard, just head bouncing. That's what I'm doing as we start every show. But it will remain a mystery for now. We will see.
2 questions from Gongshow Discord, 419 Sports Guy. What is the most underappreciated hockey release? The most overhyped? Can it be value-based or not? Okay, Troy, you can go first.
Yeah, we already answered this kind of. I said underappreciated. I would go with actually OPG Hobby for all the reasons that we talked about earlier. And I kind of mentioned how you turned me on to this, and just you get really cool cards for a cheap entry price. And then I'm going with maybe most overhyped, and it's not even out yet, and this is kind of a value thing, how it's going to be $1,254 a box. I would say 2020 the Cup might be a little bit overhyped, especially coming out 2 years or whatever after the rookie class has been playing. I just think it's going to be, I don't know. It's just, to me, it seems like it can't live up to what the Cup normally does. But that's
super controversial. Please send all Gongshow hate mail, care of Troy, to 1 Gongshow Road. No, we don't have any address. Don't send us mail. Yeah, I think if you're looking at it from a value standpoint,
that's it. It's totally value standpoint. It's not like the cards. The cards are going to be awesome. I know that.
Hard to live up to all the anticipation and the price tag. For me, yeah, OPG Hobby. It's my most underappreciated. Love it. A couple other candidates might be Premier, because I think the cards are really nice. They just don't have great resale value, or not what you'd expect. If you ever get a chance, look them up, and you'll see what I'm saying. What I'm saying here, for overhyped, I'm so down on SP Game Used after this year.
No.
Like, there's nary a Game Used patch that seemed in there. It was all like manufactured Eddie the Eagle Moose mix-up patches.
Well, that does tint your perspective when you get like that card, that manufactured wrong patch card. I would agree with you.
The other one that I would say, Troy, and this might be my tiny controversial moment. We'll see if you agree. I might throw Black Diamond in for overhyped. And the reason why I say that is I watched a million breaks with Black Diamond this past summer, and I don't remember a lot of times me thinking that, oh, I wish I had bought that box. The cards seem pretty beat up, and again, maybe it's just I like the concept of Black Diamond. I think the card designs are pretty cool, and maybe it's a value thing here. I don't know. I just remember thinking that a lot this past summer.
Yeah, Black Diamond didn't do much for me. I don't know if I thought it was overhyped or anything, but I do remember watching a lot of breaks and just it was in the periphery, right? I wasn't that really interested in it, even seeing some of the cards, except for that Band of Colors McDavid, which I think was the first box I saw be opened by a breaker. That was pretty cool, but that was
a big win in the last Black Diamond release for sure. Okay, next question from Gongshow Discord 419 Sports Guy. If you could see one now retired player start their career in the current day NHL, who would it be? My vote is tied with either Hasek or Brodeur. I think those are good choices. I'd like to see a healthy version of Mario Lemieux and see how he would do in today's game. I don't know. I just think that would be interesting.
Yeah, I kind of went the health route too, because I said Mike Bossy. I would want to see if he could score at the crazy pace he did, and would modern medicine be able to heal him and allow him to play more years, and see how many records he would hold besides Gretzky. Then I also wrote down Gretzky because I think it'd just always be good to see if he's the greatest player in today's game, if he had his skill set.
Next question, Gongshow Discord Bert 2144. Should Upper Deck do a deal with SGC like Topps is doing, being able to get a heavy discount for their flagship product? I'd love to see Upper Deck do something like this, either with EPAC or just with the general hobby physical cards. That would be even better. The one thing I'd like to see in all these deals, though, is, and I get part of why SGC does these is the exclusivity, but it'd be awesome to have all the grading options. Mm-hmm. Let people choose the grading partner that they like. But I'm definitely for these integrated grading deals. What do you feel on that?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the notes. You can kind of do it with EPAC, right? You can pull your card and maybe send it to ComC And then now you have a grading option with ComC to put it to CSG. So you can do it kind of a backhand way, but yeah, I would love it if Upper Deck themselves offered grading options that you could send in.
Next question this is a really good one. From Instagram, Kirill Recognized Real. It's a little bit of a long one here. I take a deep breath. Interesting topic for the No Hobby Love department, or from the No Hobby Love department. See how many guesses it takes to guess which 2019 Young Guns has the most career goals to date. The answer will be very surprising to the hobby based on his card values and attention paid. Any idea of the 2019 Young Guns? More than Jack Hughes, who has the most goals?
I have no clue. It would take me 100 guesses, but
yeah, it would. Because it's Carter Verhaeghe.
Oh, I have a Young Gun, or I have a canvas of him, I think.
Mm-hmm. And he goes on to say, age plays into it, sure, but it's really the perfect storm of the market, lack of hype and draft pedigree, still totally inexplicable in the hobby right now. Like Kirill, even if you don't play your first NHL game until 23, 24, if you produce for long enough and stay healthy, you can still have better careers in the end than your peers that came into the league at 18 or 19 years old. So yeah, it is kind of interesting to pit Carter Verhaeghe versus all the 2019 Young Guns, but in particular Jack Hughes. And I think this is really a great test of our sort of like Gongshow rules kind of theories, right? And I think, though, Troy, that the age is the biggest issue. I should say, too, go back quickly. So Verhaeghe has 80 career goals. Jack Hughes is 79.
Mm-hmm.
And why I think age is an issue, because people look at Jack Hughes at 21 and say, well, if he has 79 goals by the age of 21, what will his career be like when he's 27? Where Carter Verhaeghe, it's more so how much will he have left and how long can he play right now? And we always reward potential much more than actual results. And I wasn't planning to do this for a while, but I think it's too good of an opportunity not to introduce another Gongshow rule. And that's rule number 4. All right, so here it is. Gongshow rule number 4. Age is not just a number when it comes to investing in players. There's a huge hobby bias and premium placed on young players because of the allure of their potential. The hobby thinks of a player at 18, 19 years old as to what they could possibly become, and normally does this through rose-colored glasses, imagining the best possible outcome. This is especially true for player age at rookie year. Players whose first year is 24 or later typically see less investment attention. So what are your thoughts?
Yep, I agree with that for now. Until the hobby can prove us wrong on this rule, we've seen it over and over again.
And I think we talked about this last episode with the Gongshow rules, which are going to be shortly available on hockeycardsgongshow.com, that every rule has exceptions, right? But the point of these rules is that in general, 9 times out of 10, 19 times out of 20, whatever you want to call it, that this is going to be the most logical way to approach looking at potential players. Okay, so from Instagram and Couch Surfer, what do you think of the value of Filip Hronek in Detroit? I know he plays defense, but ... I haven't seen him play much, Couch Surfer, but seems like a very solid defenseman, and he's been a pretty good offensive contributor. Honestly, though, I'm guessing he's more of a PC type guy than one you'd want to go deep investing in. Like you said, he's a defenseman. He's also got another teammate on the blue line, one Mo Sider, who we haven't thrown a shot at yet today. It's so tempting, but I haven't done it. Mo's going to get most of the hobby attention anyways.
Great answer. I have no opinion. I have no opinion on this one. I just don't know the player that much.
Instagram Lantern Cards. With the increase in popularity of OPC Platinum, do you think 90s refractors will become more popular? That's actually an interesting connection that I hadn't really ever thought of before between OPC Platinum and 90s refractors or other shiny inserts. I don't know how to tell how they are connected, honestly. And I do think we're kind of already in a run of 90s inserts and refractors. They're going to be some of the nicest and most chased cards people are going to be looking at for a while. I've felt for a while that 90s inserts are a thing. Do you have any comment on that?
No, I mean, yeah, 90s, you've definitely turned me on to the 90s inserts thing, and I think it's going to be a topic of one of our shows down the road. And is it the Masterclass series? We're thinking about doing a 90s refractor insert / all that. I just haven't taken enough time to look at 90s inserts to really have an opinion. But the ones I have seen, either through the PWCC Weekly Auction, they've all been really cool, especially the ones kind of that we've done deep dives on.
Okay, this is now the question from Instagram, Mike6. please do a deep dive into all the Young Guns variations. Well, boom, Mike
Yep,
Six. We did at the top of the show.
Got that one out of the way.
Great question. Thank you for your contribution. Next one, Instagram, Bruin Bill 8. This was a really, really good question that I don't think either of us knew how to answer. Can you dive into the levels of prestige of the different RPAs? The Cup RPAs, like the many different ones, Future Watch Auto, limited logos, and other. I think we both had a very similar sentiment on this, Troy. It's an amazing question. It deserves attention. I think we get into some of it in our club masterclass next week with Mitch Grotman. And beyond that, I think we need to add it to our show topics list and take time and research. And it's a great mailbag question, but it's really tough to answer in mailbag because it's really a segment.
Yeah.
I think. Next one, Instagram, the sports card journey. Curious on your thoughts as to why parallel or variation cards aren't usually labeled on the card. Do you think that they should be? Sometimes, even with the checklist, it's tough to tell what they are. All right, Troy, I'll let you take this one.
Absolutely one of my biggest pet peeves ever. It was the one thing that frustrated me very much when I got into the hobby is how some parallel cards, they just aren't labeled. I want them all labeled. Somewhere on the back or something, I want to know what it is. You've seen that with, I think, OPG Platinum has it. Allure definitely had it. They had the names of the cards on the back. I think every card that's a parallel or any kind of like insert, as long as they have put the name on them, I'm all for it. I think it's how it should be. I think it should be a normal thing in the hobby because I see this more like in WWE cards when you get like a Panini Select, and you'll know it's an insert or a parallel. Sorry, you'll know it's a parallel. It'll say Prism, right? But you might not know which one it is. And sometimes there's 40 different parallels. And you got to sit there and go through this list and, there's a pink and then there's a rose. And it's just, that stuff drives me nuts. I don't want to spend time doing that. I want to just put the name on the back of the card. So, yes, I agree that they should be named.
That's a good answer. I probably can't do it any better than that. Next one from Instagram, B. Cupton. I've got a question, guys. I just pulled an Artifacts Rookie Redemption wild card. It's a red one. And curious if the better play is to redeem it or don't redeem it and keep it as a possible redemption in case it nets a dud. Not sure what that part means. Thanks again, guys, and love the show. I looked it up really quickly, B. Cupton, and saw it's going for like $14.15 on eBay. I don't know what to do. It's probably not going to be like a big banger of a card. If I had this, I'd probably redeem it just because I'm something romantic to me about going through those processes.
And when he says wild card, that doesn't mean it's a wild team player, right? Or
Minnesota Wild.
Oh, is that what it's meaning? Okay, I thought maybe that.
Yeah, I got thrown off by that at first too.
Gotcha. I thought the dud meant like it's a wild. It could be any rookie, and that's why he's saying it could be a dud. Nope. Yeah, when I get redemptions, obviously I just burn it preferably, but obviously they're good. Redemptions are still a thing. So when I do get redemptions, I usually just scratch them off and redeem them and pray that I get something good. I actually did. Was it 2 years ago in MVP? I got one of the whole conferences, one of the division rookies, and it had Laffy in it. So that sold for good money for an MVP rookie card.
Wouldn't know.
Laffy. Did I say Laffy? Laffy.
You said Laffy. Next one from 562 Sports Cards. Where do you see Ovechkin values going if he passes Gretzky's goal record? I think that we're already seeing the value being baked in the cards of this, basically the assumption that he passes the record. So if my best guess would be in the month or so, if and when he passes a record, he'll see a 20 to 30% bump. Then it'll go down probably for a year, a little bit. And then as he gets into retirement and solidifies his place in the kind of Mount Rushmore-ish type conversations, he'll get into that legendary all-time status and drive pretty good value going forward. Do you see it playing out any different than that?
No, I've thought that breaking the record's kind of baked in, and there should be some jump when he does actually do it. But I don't think you're going to see like 100% jump when he breaks the record, if he breaks the record.
All right, next one from Gongshow Discord, Seti B. It's a dig at Josh. That's okay. Strong. How does Josh struggle in pronouncing Sean McKindo's name, but he can so easily rattle off Dom, I'd like to buy a vowel decisions name? I don't remember saying Sean McKindo. Who is that?
That's Dom goes. It was me. I'm pretty sure Seti got us mixed up. That was me that was talking about it because I was talking about an athletic article and then the stats analysis. It was on the Canadian teams, I think, winning a cup. Oh. And so I remember I had to mention both of them, and I still can't say Sean's last name. It doesn't roll off my tongue. And then Dom, I've read enough of his stuff to figure out what his last name is, but it's kind of crazy look. So I think this is me. And let's be honest, we've talked about this 100 times. We're a gong show. We struggle with names. But again, we didn't go into the Toronto Expo and start ripping on all the Canadians for saying Kaprizov. So it's Kaprizov. Yeah. We know that one. So a little give and take, but yes, we do struggle with names. It's how we do it here.
Well, I'd hope that that's part of our charm at this point.
Yeah, I don't think it's changed anytime soon. We do try to do some, but the worst part is it's in the back of our heads, and I could look up a name, watch play-by-play, know exactly what it's going to be, and once I see it and read it, the mind shuts off, and it's like, watch this sucker, you suck.
And I do want to, not out of like spite or the fact that we can't say any name correctly, but it does fascinate me that every Canadian calls him Kirill Kaprizov. That is not his name.
It's got to be a dialect thing, I would assume. Now, I'm not a speech pathologist or anything, but I'm wondering if it's truly something with the dialect and how they speak. I'm sure there's names we do here that's the same thing. And we're not ripping
and it even caused me to question it. And then I went back and I'm like, wait a minute, I know that it's Kaprizov. Darn it, I know that.
Yeah, we just like we're giving a little crap back since we get so much crap about saying names.
Well, I don't understand it's crap. I'm just curious as to like how that is, because they tend to know the names a lot better. Okay, next one from This Hockey Insta on Instagram. What should I do with my 2022-23 World Juniors Olen Zellweger redemption? Do I redeem it? I haven't studied too many of the prospects yet, I guess I'm kind of assuming with your question that you're trying to maximize the value. I know he's got a lot going on for him. He's a very offensively minded defenseman. He's considered one of the top prospects. He's a Ducks prospect, I know, and it's a very young, exciting team. I might try to redeem it and then move it this summer as kind of the hype's building to the next season. But if you are going to sell it, you want to definitely get rid of it before his Young Guns comes out, because that's where most of the attention will go. You a big Olen Zellweger mind try?
I've just seen the name in a box score, and I didn't do a lot of research on him.
Yeah. This next one is an interesting question that I was confused by at first, because I hadn't, but it is a thing. And so I just hadn't seen this discussion before. It's from a Gongshow Discord, MKE Breaks. What makes someone a true Hall of Famer? Have you heard of that kind of true Hall of Famer designation?
I mean, I've heard sometimes people get in the Hall of Fame because they're buddies with the voting committee, and this was especially true in the old days. So I thought maybe that's what it's had to mean, like people that truly deserve to be in a Hall of Fame versus someone that just lobbied for 20 years, paid enough bribes, and got in. But I that's the only thing I could think of. I've never actually seen a definition or an article discussing a true Hall of Famer.
That makes sense to me. From the research that I did, it was more to do with, and very similar to what you're talking about too, guys that made the Hall of Fame that were really good, but just really good for a long time. And because of that, their stats piled up to a point where they had, I guess, a Hall of Fame worthy career, versus guys that truly made a distinctive mark on the game or changed the name or impacted the game in a profound way. I guess from a hobby perspective, I think this kind of works its way out in values and secondary market. There's lots and lots of Hall of Famers, as we've talked about in our Troy's Your Greatest Player to Wear Numbers segment, whose cards go for nothing, that ultimately just played a long time and were pretty good for a long time, maybe not stupendous or anything like that, and end up in the Hall of Fame. I guess to answer your question specifically, MK, it's guys that have a big, profound impact on the game, and they're the guys that are the most famous and most legendary status, and we kind of know who they are. Anything to add to that, Trey?
That's good with me. And, you get into that whole, you can have a whole debate on this, the character clause, or people that have kind of a sketchy, I don't know what you'd call it, personal issues.
All right, next one from Instagram, 3 stars of the game. With Ovechkin taking a leave of absence for personal reasons, and with 1 year mark of the war of Ukraine coming up, as the end of the war seems seemingly extending further and further into the future, what are your thoughts on whether and how the hobby sentiment of Ovi may change as time passes? Anecdotally, more and more collectors are speaking to his ties to Putin, whether Team Russia will be welcomed back into international hockey events, even the content left in a social media. Certain veterans like Hall of Famer Hasek have been very public with their thoughts. So a really good question, very thought-provoking. Thank you for asking it. I don't know, you start with like tying in his absence to his dad dying. To me, it's a totally separate issue. Any player is going to take a leave to mourn the passing of a parent, I think. As it relates to the potential ties to Putin and his Russian heritage, I think this is really tricky because on one hand, it's his home, it's his country, right? It's hard to fault the guy for loving your home where you're from, even no matter what we think of their political system. And then the second thing I always think of, Troy, in these situations, and we had it with Kaprizov this summer too, kind of had to have these conversations as Wild fans, is I don't know exactly Ovechkin's family situation where everyone is, but let's assume for a minute he's got maybe his parents or brothers and sisters or cousins or friends that are in Russia. I'm not sure if that's the case. The smartest thing is to be safe here in the U.S. and be popping off against Putin with your family sitting in Russia. I would assume these guys have to be very, very careful with what they say. And so for that reason, I have a certain amount of empathy, I guess, towards that. But there are some very real political issues, and we're definitely not a political show. So I don't know if I really want to get into if I even have thoughts or what they would be. But yeah, I mean, it's going to factor into, I think, a number of collectors, how they view him over the long term. I think in general, though, if he breaks the record, that will sort of take the most precedence. But I don't know. It depends how things shake out. It could be like a Bobby Hall situation where for a much more different reason, a certain amount of collectors sort of looked at him a little bit differently. Maybe that'll happen with OV2. I don't know. Yeah,
to me, the biggest issue is just when you have family in these countries that you have to be very careful about what you do, especially when it seems like the Russian regime can take action against your family if they want to. Where flip it around in the U.S., I feel like any hockey player could say anything they want about Trudeau or Biden, and you're probably fine. Like, they're not going to come after you, but sometimes you hear stories out of Russia, and obviously I'm not a Russian expert.
You don't have to worry about your family disappearing.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about the family going to the gulag or something happening. So I think they got to be very, very careful on how they do that. Now, he did come out, and Ovi, I think, got quoted saying he doesn't want war, no war, or please end the war or something, but that's about as political as he's gotten, making those kind of statements. But yeah, it's a tough situation. I do not envy the position he's in, and definitely Hasek has his opinion on it, so he's been very vocal. He wants Russians out of the league, out of international hockey and everything. I don't know what Hasek kind of taking shots at Ovi's kid. That was maybe a little too far, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Okay, last question from Instagram, Magic Mick, or Mike. This is M-I-K, so probably pronouncing it wrong, but here we go. Where do you see recent PMGs falling in terms of value in the long term? Thanks for a great show. Well, thank you for the compliment. I appreciate that. My opinion on this, Troy, is I think the rookie retros will always be some of the most valuable cards in hockey. My question is on the base and vet cards, as they continue to produce those, it's in their best interest to keep producing Skybox Metal. How many years of McDavid PMGs base cards before there's just too many of them?
You're fatigued, right? You get fatigued. I've said this before. I don't get the PMG. I don't get the whole hype. I think they do look cool, but I'm not a PMG guy. But yeah, there's going to be some fatigue if they keep pulling these up. But we've seen the retros go for big time money, and if they can manage those, they'll be. I think those will be very valuable still going into the future.
All right, that is a show for Thursday. If you like the episode, please leave a rating and review on Apple, Spotify, or whatever podcast app you listen to us on. If you love the show, and how could you not? You might have Troy banging the keys at the beginning. We don't know. It's a mystery. You want to chat with us on the regular on the Hockey Cards Discord server, please consider a $5 a month donation. Join our out of 99 support level tier on Patreon. The link is in the show description. You can go to hockeycardsgongshow.com, find the link there. You can go to the Patreon website, patreon.com, or in our Instagram and TikTok profile on our link tree. And it's very easy to sign up and contribute, and we greatly appreciate that. Follow us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. Just search for Hockey Cards Gong Show and Troy. The Hockey Cards Gong Show podcast is a production of Dollar Box Ventures, LLC. See ya!